The sleek vessel of the collective hovered above Earth's atmosphere. Its crystalline hull glowed blue from the planet below. Lead observer Ta stood on the observation deck, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he studied the world beneath them. "Another primitive world," remarked his assistant Jin. She adjusted the holographic display, showing Earth's major population centers. "Their technology is barely interstellar." Ta nodded slowly. "The Council wants an assessment for potential integration." Standard protocol. The collective had spent thousands of years spreading across the galaxy. They'd brought their governance to 46 worlds so far. Earth would be the 47th, if the humans were worthy. "Establish our diplomatic outpost in their northern continent," Tai ordered. "I want a full analysis of their societies within one rotation." Jin bowed slightly. "It will be done, observer." Within days, the collective's cloaked outpost was fully operational in a remote mountain region. Teams of analysts began collecting data on human civilization, technology, and behavior patterns. The initial reports confirmed their expectations. Humans were resourceful but technologically limited. 3 months later, Jin rushed into Ta's private chamber, her usual calm demeanor disrupted. "Observer, we have detected unusual energy signatures from a research facility in what they call California," she said, displaying a data stream. "They're experimenting with principles similar to our quantum communication array." Ta frowned. "Impossible. We haven't shared any such technology." "They haven't been given access," Jin confirmed. "They've observed our ships and somehow extrapolated the basic principles." Ta dispatched a specialized team to investigate. Their findings only deepened his concern. Human scientists had not only detected the quantum fields used by collective communications, but had begun developing their own crude versions. "How did they progress so quickly?" asked Tai during an emergency meeting with his senior staff. Hoon, the cultural analyst, spoke up. "Their entire history is based on competition and adaptation. When faced with something new, they don't just accept it. They take it apart, understand it, and make it their own." Over the following weeks, more reports arrived showing similar patterns across Earth. Humans weren't just learning. They were innovating, taking collective concepts and transforming them. Tai prepared his first formal report to the Council with growing unease. This was not following the standard integration pattern. Every other species had taken generations to adapt to new technology. Humans were doing it in months. The council chamber was silent as 12 of the collective's oldest and wisest members listened to Ta's findings. Their long faces betrayed little emotion, but Tai could sense their discomfort. "They've already begun adapting our basic energy distribution methods," Tai explained, showing comparative data. "Their approach is inefficient but surprisingly creative. They've found applications we never considered." Council Elder Sung leaned forward in his floating chair. His skin, pale blue with age, seemed to glow under the chamber lights. "You sound impressed, Observer Tai," he noted. "Should the Council be concerned?" "Their adaptability exceeds all projected models," Tai admitted. "They are predictably unpredictable." "Explain," demanded another council member. "We can predict that humans will not follow our projected adaptation curves," Ta clarified. "They consistently find unexpected solutions. Where other species see barriers, humans see challenges to overcome." The chamber filled with murmurs. This was not what the council wanted to hear. "Show us examples," Elder Sung requested. Ta displayed footage from a human laboratory. Scientists there had taken components from a damaged collective scanner and integrated them with Earth technology to create a medical device that could detect cellular damage before it manifested as illness. "They had no understanding of our quantum principles," Tai explained. "Yet they intuited the application and created something new." More examples followed. Transportation systems, energy generation, even entertainment technologies that blended collective principles with human creativity. "They learn exponentially," Jin added. "Each discovery accelerates the next." Elder Sung's expression grew serious. "Are they a threat, Observer Ta?" The chamber fell silent. This was the crucial question. The collective had encountered aggressive species before. Those that couldn't be integrated were isolated, or in extreme cases, neutralized. Ta hesitated, weighing his answer carefully. His career had been built on accuracy and precision, but something about humans defied precise analysis. Not yet, he finally said, but they could become one. Explain your assessment, Elder Sung pressed. Humans are collaborative and competitive in equal measure, Te replied. They fight amongst themselves, but unite quickly against outside threats. If they perceive us as threatening their autonomy, they will resist with remarkable innovation and determination. Then we must proceed with caution, Elder Sung concluded. Observer Te, you will oversee a controlled integration. Share only the most basic technologies. Monitor their response. If they show signs of using our gifts against us, we will reevaluate. As the council session ended, Jin approached Ta privately. You didn't tell them everything, she observed quietly. Ta looked out at the stars through the chamber's viewing portal. No, he admitted. I didn't tell them that unlike every species we've encountered, humans don't just adapt to their environment. They adapt their environment to themselves. And that makes them fundamentally different. Jin considered this. The council may not understand the implications. They will, Te replied. Soon enough. The sleek vessel of the collective hovered above Earth's atmosphere. Its crystalline hull reflected the blue glow of the planet below. Inside the observation deck, lead observer Ta stood motionless, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back. Another primitive world, remarked his assistant Jin, studying the holographic displays. Their technology is barely interstellar. Ta nodded. The council wants assessment for potential integration. Standard protocol. The collective had spent thousands of years spreading their enlightened governance across the galaxy. Earth would be the 47th world brought into their fold, if deemed worthy. Establish the diplomatic outpost in their northern continent, Te ordered. I want complete analysis of their societies within one rotation. What Tai couldn't anticipate was how quickly the observation team's reports would change tone. Within months, the initial dismissiveness had transformed into cautious concern. They've already reverse-engineered components of our communication array, Jin reported, disbelief evident in his voice. They shouldn't have been able to understand the principles for decades. Te reviewed the data with growing unease. Humans weren't just learning. They were innovating, taking collective concepts and transforming them into something new. Their adaptability exceeds all projected models, he finally admitted to the council during his first report. They are predictably unpredictable. The eldest council member, Sung, leaned forward. Are they a threat? Observer Ta. Ta hesitated. Not yet, but they could become one. The council debated for days before approving a limited integration plan. Humans would receive carefully selected technologies, mostly medical and energy advancements, while remaining under strict collective oversight. Da, a respected engineer with experience on 12 worlds, was appointed as Technology Compliance Officer. He created extensive safeguards to prevent unauthorized human development. We control the pace, he reassured the council during his appointment ceremony. They will advance only as we permit. Ta watched skeptically as the integration process began. The first technology transfer centers were established in major human cities. Lines formed around the blocks as humans eagerly embraced the new medical treatments that cured previously fatal diseases. Clean energy generators replaced polluting power plants. Transportation systems became more efficient. Global hunger decreased as collective agricultural methods increased food production. For 3 years, the system appeared to work perfectly. Human governments cooperated with collective advisors. The technological gifts were used exactly as intended. Da's reports to the council were uniformly positive. The humans are grateful and compliant, he wrote. They understand their place in the galactic order. Ta wasn't convinced. During his observation missions to Earth, he noticed something the compliance reports missed: a restlessness in human eyes, a tendency to ask questions that pushed boundaries. His concerns were validated when Hyun, a junior security analyst assigned to monitor global energy usage, requested an urgent meeting. "Sir," she said, displaying a series of readings on her tablet, "these energy signatures from their southern continent. They are using principles we haven't shared." Tai studied the data. The patterns were unmistakable. Someone on Earth was using quantum field manipulation techniques that had been deliberately withheld from humans. "How is this possible?" he asked. Hyun shook her head. "I don't know, sir, but it's not isolated. I've detected similar anomalies on 3 continents." Tai authorized a covert investigation. What they discovered alarmed even him. Underground facilities had been established across Earth, hidden from collective surveillance. In these secret labs, humans had not only mastered the technologies they had been given, but had improved upon them. Most concerning were the spacecraft they had built. Using principles reverse-engineered from collective vessels, humans had created ships with innovations that even the collective's engineers found remarkable. "Their propulsion system uses 30% less energy than ours," reported the chief investigator, "and their navigation computers process spatial calculations in ways we never considered." Council leader Sung called an emergency session when the reports reached him. The council chamber was tense as Tai presented the findings. "How did this happen?" Sung demanded, his normally composed demeanor cracking. "We established controls. We limited their access." Day appeared stunned. The safeguards were comprehensive. They shouldn't have been able to bypass them. Ta, who had warned of human ingenuity from the beginning, spoke plainly. "We underestimated them. Their entire history is defined by competition and adaptation. By restricting them, we've only challenged them to overcome our barriers. Then we must establish stricter controls," Day insisted, his voice rising. "More monitoring, harsher penalties for unauthorized development." The council members nodded in agreement, but Tai could see in their eyes that they didn't understand the fundamental nature of what they faced. Humans wouldn't be contained by regulations or threats. "The pressure is building," he warned, looking around the chamber at his colleagues, "and I fear the breaking point approaches." Later that evening, Ta stood alone on the observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly below. He had spent his career studying alien civilizations, but none had fascinated him like humans. "You're worried," said Jin, joining him at the viewport. Ta nodded. "The council is making a mistake. They think this is about technology. It's not. It's about freedom. What will happen?" Ta watched as night spread across the blue planet below, human cities lighting up like stars against the darkness. "Something new," he replied softly. "Something the galaxy has never seen before." The research facility nestled in the Swiss Alps looked ordinary from the outside. White buildings surrounded by pine forests and mountain peaks. But inside, some of the brightest human minds worked on technology that was anything but ordinary. Dr. Han led the quantum field manipulation team. For 2 years, they had secretly studied the energy signatures from collective ships. What began as theoretical research had evolved into working prototypes. "The field generator is stable," Dr. Han announced to her team one morning. "We've achieved 87% efficiency." What the humans didn't know was that collective surveillance had finally detected their work. Deep in the collective command vessel orbiting Earth, Commander Wu reviewed the intelligence with growing alarm. "This technology could neutralize our defensive systems," he reported to the military council. "Their quantum field manipulator could disable our shields. We cannot allow it to continue." The council debated briefly before reaching consensus. The threat must be eliminated. A precise operation, ordered High Commander Jun, remove the research and key personnel only. No wider damage. Commander Wu assembled an elite strike team. Their mission was simple: teleport into the facility, secure the prototype technology, eliminate the lead scientists who understood the principles, and depart. The humans would think it was a lab accident. But something went wrong. The strike team's targeting systems miscalculated the quantum resonance of the human facility. When they activated their weapons, they triggered a catastrophic reaction with the experimental equipment. The explosion vaporized the entire research complex in seconds. 372 humans died instantly. The blast was so powerful it shattered windows in villages 5 miles away. The collective tried to cover up their involvement. Their official statement called it a regrettable accident in experimental human research. But one junior officer from the strike team was captured. Under questioning, he revealed the truth. Earth erupted in outrage. News of the attack spread across the globe within hours. Protests formed outside every collective facility. Centuries of national divisions and old rivalries dissolved overnight as humanity united against what they now understood was alien oppression. In New York, at the United Nations, Min stood before representatives from every Earth nation. She had worked as a diplomat between humans and the collective for years, believing in peaceful cooperation. Now her face was grim as cameras broadcast her words worldwide. "For 5 years, we welcomed the collective to Earth," she said. "We accepted their guidance and their gifts. But now we see the truth. You came as friends but ruled as masters. That ends today." The vote was unanimous. All collective representatives were given 24 hours to leave Earth. The collective leadership was stunned by this defiance. They had expected fear, perhaps even submission after their show of force. Instead, they faced unified resistance. "They will calm down," predicted Council Leader Sung. "Once they realize they need our technology, they will negotiate." Ta, who had warned about human nature from the beginning, shook his head. "You still don't understand them. They would rather die free than life controlled." The collective responded by positioning battle cruisers over major Earth cities. They demanded the return of their technology and compliance with their authority. They expected immediate surrender. Instead, they got war. General June, who had studied collective military tactics for years, gathered Earth's unified defense forces in a hidden command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. "They expect us to fight conventionally," she told the assembled commanders from dozens of nations. "Their military doctrine is built on overwhelming force and technological superiority. But our greatest strength is that we don't fight as expected." Under her leadership, Earth launched a guerrilla campaign. Small, fast attacks. Hit-and-run tactics. The humans utilized their knowledge of their own planet, its oceans, mountains, and atmosphere, in ways the collective couldn't predict. More surprisingly, humans began using collective technology in ways its creators never imagined. Mining equipment was repurposed into weapons. Communication devices were hacked and reprogrammed to disrupt alien coordination. 3 months into the conflict, the resistance achieved what the collective thought impossible. Using modified mining lasers and captured shield technology, a small team of human ships approached the collective command carrier, indomitable in low Earth orbit. The mighty vessel, 3 miles long and bristling with weapons that could level cities, never considered the tiny human craft a threat. By the time they realized their error, it was too late. The humans had identified a vulnerability in the carrier's engine cooling system. Their improvised weapons pierced this weakness with surgical precision. The indomitable pride of the collective fleet broke apart in Earth's atmosphere. The burning pieces fell like meteors into the Atlantic Ocean. There were no survivors. The shock of this defeat reverberated through the entire alien hierarchy. A vessel thought invincible had been destroyed by primitives using repurposed industrial equipment. In his quarters aboard the collective headquarters ship, Ta watched reports of the escalating conflict with a mixture of admiration and sadness. He had tried to warn them. Now it was too late. He composed one final transmission to the Council before making his decision. "You cannot control what you do not understand, and you have never understood humans." Then he erased his personal logs, packed a small bag, and headed for the shuttle bay. Earth would need allies in the coming conflict. And Ta had finally chosen a side. The massive collective warships emerged from fold space one by one, their sleek hulls gleaming against the darkness. Over 300 vessels, representing the largest military force ever assembled by the alien civilization, took position around Earth's solar system. High Commander Jun stood on the bridge of the flagship Inevitable Dominance, watching as the tactical display showed his forces surrounding the human homeworld. The humans have assembled their defenses around their planet and lunar colony, reported his tactical officer. Their fleet is significantly smaller than ours. We outnumber them 4-1. Jun nodded with satisfaction. Begin the standard approach. Tell all ships to maintain formation delta. We will give them one chance to surrender before we begin the assault. The collective had used this same battle strategy on dozens of worlds. It had never failed. Their technological superiority and overwhelming numbers always led to quick victory. But as the mighty alien armada moved toward Earth, something unexpected happened. Small human vessels, barely visible on sensors, detached from hidden positions in the asteroid belt. These ships were tiny compared to collective cruisers, some no larger than shuttles. "They're approaching our rear flank," reported the sensor operator. "Shall we dispatch interceptors?" Jun waved dismissively. "They pose no threat to capital ships. Maintain course." Minutes later, alarms blared across the bridge. Ships at the fleet's edges were reporting catastrophic hull breaches. Jun watched in disbelief as the tactical display showed collective vessels going dark. Science Officer Yun rushed to the command platform, her face pale with shock. "They'd weaponized the fold space technology we use for communication," she reported, pointing to sensor readings. "They're opening microportals within our ship hulls." Jun stared at the data in disbelief. "That's impossible. That technology requires power sources larger than their entire vessels." "They've miniaturized it somehow," Yun explained. "They're creating small fold space openings inside our ships, bypassing our shields completely." On the tactical display, more collective ships began signaling distress. The tiny human vessels would approach a collective cruiser, emit a focused energy pulse, and then dart away. Each pulse opened a microscopic portal inside the larger ship, exposing critical systems to the vacuum of space or creating devastating pressure differentials. "Adjust formation," Jun ordered. "All ships, close ranks, and concentrate fire on approaching vessels." But the human ships were too small, too fast, and too numerous. They darted between the massive collective vessels with incredible agility. The pilots flew with what seemed like reckless courage, maneuvering in ways that defied standard tactics. "Our formations are breaking down," reported the tactical officer. "The humans aren't following any recognizable battle pattern. We can't predict their movements." As the battle continued, more alarming news arrived. Intelligence Director Suk rushed onto the bridge, interrupting Jun's attempt to reorganize his forces. "We're detecting non-human ships entering the system," she reported urgently. "Vessels from the Taro Confederation, the Bilari Alliance, and the Mox Collective, all previously subjugated species from 3 different sectors." Jun's skin paled to almost white. "How is this possible? Those worlds are under our control. The humans have made contact with them," Suk explained. "They're building a coalition, promising freedom and technological exchange to any who join them. Many of our subject worlds are in open rebellion." The situation deteriorated rapidly. The rigid battle formations that had conquered hundreds of worlds proved useless against the combined forces of humans and their new allies. Each alien species had intimate knowledge of collective weaknesses, and the humans had helped them develop weapons to exploit those vulnerabilities. After 3 days of constant battle, Jun received orders directly from the Council. He was to withdraw the remaining forces to Alpha Centauri, where the Collective's main fleet, commanded by High Admiral G, would make a final stand against the human-led coalition. "This will be the decisive battle," the Council message stated. "The future of the Collective depends on victory." At Alpha Centauri, High Admiral G assembled the largest force in collective history, over 500 warships drawn from across the galaxy. His strategy was meticulous, accounting for everything the humans had done so far. What the collective didn't know was that humans had developed a revolutionary propulsion system that allowed their ships to make micro-jumps within battle spaces, while collective vessels needed to calculate fold space jumps well in advance. Human ships could make instantaneous short-range jumps during combat. The battle began at dawn, Earth time. The human-led coalition appeared at the edge of the system, seemingly outmatched by the waiting collective armée. "They've walked into our trap," Ji told his commanders. "Begin the encirclement." But as collective ships moved to surround the coalition forces, the human vessels simply disappeared, reappearing seconds later behind collective lines. The battlefield became chaos as human ships jumped in and out of normal space, striking and vanishing before collective gunners could target them. When the dust settled 8 hours later, 3/4 of the collective fleet had been destroyed or captured. Admiral Ji's vessel, surrounded by human ships, transmitted a final message to collective high command. It contained just 3 words: they were ready. In the aftermath of the battle, a transmission reached both human and collective worlds. It showed Ta, former lead observer, standing alongside human leaders. "I choose to stand with the future," he announced, "not with those who fear it." He had defected, bringing with him crucial intelligence on collective weaknesses. The breaking point had been reached. The galaxy would never be the same. The collective homeworld of Talon glowed like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. For 10,000 years, it had been the center of galactic power, the heart of an empire spanning hundreds of worlds. Now it faced the greatest threat in its history. Admiral Kyung stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Freedom, watching as ships from across the galaxy moved into position around her. Human vessels flew alongside ships from a dozen formerly subjugated species, the Bilari with their crystalline hulls, the massive Taro dreadnoughts, the swift Mox fighters. Together, they formed the largest coalition fleet ever assembled. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her executive officer. "Operation Disruption can begin on your command." Kyung nodded. After years of fighting, it had come to this final confrontation. The combined fleet against the last collective stronghold. "Send the signal," she ordered. "All ships, commence Operation Disruption." The battle plan was unlike anything the collective had ever faced. Instead of a direct assault, the coalition forces targeted the communication networks that linked the collective's defenses. Human scientists had identified the central hub that coordinated all collective ships and planetary defenses. The collective's centralized command structure, once its greatest strength, became its greatest weakness. When specialized human teams disabled the main communication hub, the coordinated defense collapsed within hours. Collective ships, unable to receive orders, either retreated or surrendered. Tai, once a collective observer and now a key advisor to the human fleet, watched from beside Admiral Kyung as the collective's defenses fell one by one. "They never imagined this could happen," he said quietly. "In 10,000 years, no one has ever reached the homeworld." The final push to the planet's surface was met with little resistance. Coalition forces secured the council chamber with minimal casualties. Supreme Council Leader Sung and the remaining collective leadership were found not preparing for a last stand, but sitting in quiet contemplation of their defeat. Admiral Kyung led the human delegation into the ancient chamber. Its walls were covered with symbols representing the thousands of years of collective history. Sung rose to meet her, his weathered blue face showing no fear, only a deep weariness. "You have proven stronger than we anticipated," he said. "The collective acknowledges its defeat." A formal surrender ceremony was arranged for the following day. Representatives from all coalition worlds gathered in the Grand Plaza at the heart of the collective capital city. Billions across the galaxy watched the broadcast as Supreme Council Leader Sung officially surrendered the authority of the collective. "For 10,000 years, we believed order came from control," Sung acknowledged, his voice carrying across the hushed crowd. "We thought our way was the only way to achieve peace and progress. You have shown us there is strength in diversity and freedom." He handed the ancient seal of office to Admiral Kyung, symbolically transferring power from the collective to the new coalition. In the months that followed, representatives from all worlds, former collective members and coalition allies alike, gathered to draft a new galactic charter. Unlike the rigid structure of the collective, this new agreement established principles of sovereignty and cooperation. Each world will govern itself, read the charter's first principle. The Galactic Alliance exists to facilitate cooperation, not to control. Humans, with their unique adaptability and perspective, were appointed as mediators between worlds. Their ability to understand different viewpoints and find creative solutions made them natural diplomats in the diverse new galactic community. Tay, once a collective observer who had first recognized humanity's potential, became the first ambassador of the new Galactic Alliance. At the charter signing ceremony, he reflected on the journey that had brought them all to this point. Humans disrupted our galaxy, he said, looking out at the assembled representatives. The collective saw this as danger. But in that disruption, they saved us from stagnation. They showed us that true strength comes not from rigid order, but from the freedom to grow and change. The integration of human innovation with the advanced technology of other species created a renaissance across former collective territories. Worlds that had been forced to develop according to strict collective guidelines now flourish with creative exchange and cooperation. New technologies emerged at an unprecedented rate. Medical advances eliminated diseases that had plagued worlds for centuries. Transportation systems connected distant planets more efficiently than ever before. Scientific discoveries that would have been impossible under the collective's controlled research blossomed in the new atmosphere of open collaboration. 1 year after the final battle, Admiral Kyung stood atop the new Galactic Alliance headquarters in Seoul. The building, a blend of architectural styles from across the galaxy, symbolized the new cooperative approach. Through the transparent dome above, she could see ships from dozens of worlds moving through Earth's busy skies. Representatives from all member worlds had gathered to mark the anniversary of the new order. As Kyung addressed them, she looked out at the diverse faces, human and alien alike, united not by control but by choice. "We were never meant to be contained," she said, her words transmitted to worlds across the galaxy. "None of us were. The stars belong to all who dare to reach for them." She turned to Ta, who stood beside her as Alliance ambassador. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first observed Earth?" she asked him privately. Tai smiled, looking out at the ships above. "I knew humans were different, but even I couldn't predict how you would transform the galaxy." Humanity's disruption had created not chaos, but a new and vibrant order, one built on the understanding that the greatest strength comes not from control, but from the freedom to evolve.